It was my wedding day. My wife stood on the rooftop. She was dressed in a pristine white wedding gown. She was crying, and she asked me, if I died, would the people who hurt me feel guilty? I told her they would not feel guilty, but I would make them pay with their lives. I would make every single one of them accompany her to the grave. If she still loved me, if she did not want me to become a killer, she should not jump. I would take care of her for the rest of my life. She wiped her tears and forced a faint smile. She said she was sorry, but she could not hold on any longer. Every day she lived, she just wanted to die. I looked at her, and a deep sadness filled my heart. I loved her, and if she jumped, I would understand. That day, I went with my wife to try on wedding dresses. The first dress she tried on was already beautiful. Just looking at her made my heart race. If it had not been for the crowd in the store, I would have hugged and kissed her right there and then. She shyly asked me if she looked good. A little boy who was with an adult overheard her and immediately shouted mischievously, "Wow." He said she was so ugly, and my wife got upset, so I quickly praised her. I told her she was as beautiful as a princess, and not to mind the child's nonsense. Only then did she happily say to me, was I not going to buy a milk tea for Her Highness the Princess? Her Highness was getting so hot in her wedding dress. I foolishly agreed and ran off to buy her milk tea. That was the moment I ruined her life. When I came back with the milk tea, I saw a crowd gathered at the entrance of the bridal shop. Many of them were taking videos with their phones. Wondering what was happening, I pushed through the crowd and saw my wife, lying disheveled on the ground. The girl I usually pampered like a princess was being pinned to the ground by a woman. The little boy from before stood next to her. He was raising his hand to slap her. As his slap landed on my wife's face, the woman praised him. She told him, "Good job, baby, hit back." My wife could not defend herself. All she could do was cover her chest with her hands, crying and begging. She begged them not to film her. "Please do not film me." But the bystanders, relishing the drama, kept their phones pointed at her. I went mad on the spot. I grabbed a nearby phone and smashed it to pieces. Then I rushed into the store to push the woman away and hold my wife tightly. She trembled in my arms. She clutched my clothes with all her strength and burst into tears. Seeing her like this broke my heart. I quickly took off my clothes to cover her. Asking what had happened, she just cried and trembled, unable to say a word, holding onto my clothes tightly. In the end, it was our bridal shop sales assistant who told me what had happened. After I left, my wife had taken off the first dress to try on a second one. The little boy's aunt was also there to try on wedding dresses while she was getting her makeup done, and her mother chatted with her. No one was watching the child. He played freely in the store. The mischievous child pulled open my wife's curtain. Many bridal shops have fitting areas in the main hall for better lighting. When the curtain was pulled open, everyone in the store saw her undressed. She was both ashamed and angry, and instinctively slapped the child. The child's parents were furious, accusing her of being shameless and hitting their child. They rushed at her, pinned her down, and encouraged the child to hit back. She fights dirty. To prevent my wife from having a chance to fight back, she specifically ripped off her clothes, exploiting her sense of shame while committing the most outrageous acts. Countless pains kept magnifying in my heart. I held her, my heart truly aching. As a man, I cannot accept the girl I protected being humiliated and beaten. Just imagining what she had just gone through made it hard for me to breathe. The shopkeeper had already called the police, and they arrived quickly. The woman screamed and cried to the officers, saying she was taking the child to the hospital for a checkup, and that she would not spare us if the child was hurt. A policeman came to ask us what had happened, but my wife was still trembling in my arms and could not say a word. Seeing her like this made me more scared, so I told the police, could they take my wife to the hospital for a checkup first? She did not look well. The woman immediately shouted, "What a pretentious coquette." Acting all delicate was disgusting. When she was breastfeeding her child, she did not care if people saw. What kind of woman acts like such a pretentious coquette? I really wanted to tear out her tongue, but at this moment, my mind was full of worry for my wife's safety. Ignoring the police nearby, I held her and walked out, directly getting into the police car and asking them to take us to the hospital first. At the hospital, the police said, This was likely considered mutual assault. The details would have to wait for the injury report. I asked my wife to see the doctor. She was shaking so badly she could not walk. So I ended up carrying her into the examination room. The doctor started examining her, and soon he frowned and asked me to step out. I could only leave with my worries. The little boy soon came out, and it was not even a minor injury. He ran to his mother, covering his face and crying that it hurt. The woman hugged her child, glared at me viciously, and kept comforting her child. She told her child not to be afraid. If anyone bullied him again, they would fight back. I clasped my hands tightly, biting my nails, praying that everything would be okay. After a while, the door opened and the doctor came out. But my wife did not. He told us the situation was complicated. The patient was experiencing palpitations and shortness of breath, and she was mentally unstable. He had contacted an ambulance to transfer her to the central hospital. She might have post-traumatic stress disorder. I was stunned, and the woman was also shocked. She anxiously said, was she the only one who thought my wife was exaggerating? In this day and age, what was wrong with being seen a little? She was even wearing nipple covers. She was so old-fashioned that this little thing caused mental illness. Then she should not come out and harm others. She did not finish her sentence, because I rushed to her side, grabbed her hair, and dragged her into the restroom. The nearby police saw the commotion and quickly tried to stop us, but I swiftly closed the door, since the child was in her arms. He was also dragged into the restroom. There were urgent knocks on the door from outside, and she nervously asked me what I was going to do. Was I going to hit her in front of the police? I punched her in the stomach, making her kneel in pain. She clutched her stomach and screamed for help. Police. He is hitting me. I pulled her by the hair and dragged her to the stall. The little boy fell to the floor, crying and hitting me with his tiny fists. He yelled for me to let go of his mom. I coldly told him not to close his eyes and to watch his mom. I pulled the woman by the hair and opened the stall door. She asked me in panic what I was going to do. I said I would teach her a lesson. I shoved her head into the toilet bowl, making her face flush, and she started vomiting violently. I pressed her head down and flushed the toilet. I shouted angrily that her mouth was so dirty. Let me help her clean it first. She tried to struggle to get up, but was pushed back by me. She wanted to vomit, but was forced to swallow it back. The child was crying in fear, calling me a bad man. I turned to him and said, yes, I was a bad man, good boy. You should watch closely and remember this bad man's face. The woman was convulsing, and just then, the police broke open the door. I raised my hands and said, I would not resist. Please take my wife to a big hospital. And if this woman was scared too, it was because she was too weak-minded. Please do not let her harm others in the future, okay? I was taken to the police station and told the police that I was willing to be punished for hitting the woman, but she had to pay for touching my wife. However, life is not a drama, and not everything gets justice. The woman was only detained for a day because she had 2 children at home and was a breastfeeding mother. She was released quickly. We wanted to pursue criminal charges, but the police said my wife was not physically injured, so it could not be pursued criminally. As for just post-traumatic stress disorder, it did not meet the standard for minor injuries. Unwilling to accept this, I took my wife to consult a lawyer, who told us that in such cases, we could only sue for civil compensation. He advised us to let it go. I got angry and asked if we could sue for defamation, something I found online. The lawyer shook his head and told us that the law has special considerations for breastfeeding women. It was almost impossible to imprison her for this, and even if we managed to sue, she would likely get probation or bail. When we left the lawyer's office, my wife kept her mouth tightly shut, tears streaming down her face. I hugged her tightly, and she cried uncontrollably in my arms. She asked me why bad people never got punished. I had no answer. To some, paying a bit of money was punishment enough. But to us, the cost of committing a crime was too low. I refused to believe in evil. I would not let my girls suffer such a fate. I tried contacting several more lawyers, and even communicated with the court. In the end, everyone told us that the most we could pursue was a civil lawsuit. My wife's mental state was deteriorating. She had trouble sleeping every night, and even when she did fall asleep, she would wake up from nightmares, trembling in my arms. She cried and told me that living in this world was exhausting, that every time she closed her eyes, painful memories would come back. The psychologist advised us to keep her engaged in activities that gave her a sense of accomplishment and to avoid idleness, as it would only make things worse. As our wedding date approached, whenever she was unhappy, she would immerse herself in the wedding preparations, hoping to forget the pain. Through busyness, she would temporarily forget her pain, happily choosing flowers, booking dishes, and even designing the wedding entrance herself. But life is not a drama. It relentlessly drives good people to despair. As our wedding day neared, my in-laws suddenly called us back home. When my mother-in-law saw me, she handed me a large red envelope. I opened it to find it full of cash. My mother-in-law said this was the $50,000 betrothal gift my family had given them earlier. She was returning it all to me today, plus an additional $30,000 as her compensation. I did not understand what this meant. She sighed and told me that she hoped we would cancel the wedding. My wife was stunned. She had been busy with the wedding preparations these past days, only to be told to cancel it now. My father-in-law suddenly took out his phone and placed it on the coffee table. I looked at the screen. It was a video posted in their neighborhood chat group. It showed my wife being stripped and beaten in the bridal shop. Earlier in the video, my wife was covering herself, begging those people not to film, but they only wanted to watch the drama, ignoring her pleas and capturing her most miserable moment. Not only did this person post the video, but she also said in the group, at the bridal shop on Main Street, the mistress and her men were taking wedding photos and got stripped by the wife. The child was so angry that he beat the mistress. My wife and I were stunned. The situation was clearly not as this neighbor described, but when she fabricated such a story, it made the video content seem very reasonable. She acted very emotional, posted a crying emoji, and said in the group chat, even such a small child knows to defend his mother. This woman is truly a filthy vixen. Share this, expose the wench. It is everyone's responsibility. The chat group was in an uproar. Everyone was cursing and insulting my wife. People blindly believed what they heard, losing their ability to think independently. I flipped through the phone, but did not see any response from my in-laws. I asked my mother-in-law why she did not clarify. She said she could not clarify. Fortunately, she was wearing bridal makeup that day, so the neighbors did not recognize her. As long as she did not speak up, they would not know it was her daughter. My wife stared blankly at my mother-in-law, trembling as she spoke. Mom, were you just going to let the makeup lie? So they would not know it was her daughter. My mother-in-law said she was doing this for her own good. Things had escalated to this point. She should not go through with the wedding. It was too embarrassing. My wife interrupted her, crying and saying she was not dirty. Why should she not get married? Did her mother think she did not want her daughter to get married? She told her to use her brain. If she got married and put on her bridal makeup, everyone would recognize her as the person in the video. Did she think her wedding would be happy? Did she think people would bless her? Or would they secretly laugh at her? She was doing this for her own good. Why did she not understand? My wife could not respond. We both understood what my mother-in-law meant. Even if we could clear her name, once the wedding took place, my wife would inevitably become a laughingstock. At the wedding, these past few days, my wife's mood had been improving slightly, but she finally could not take it anymore. She ran into the bedroom and slammed the door shut. Moments later, I heard her heart-wrenching cries from the bedroom. Why was she the only one who got hurt? She did not do anything wrong. Why was she the only one who suffered? Hearing her cries felt like a knife to my heart. Indeed, she did nothing wrong. Why should she bear all the pain? We were now faced with the most painful choice. Either swallow our pride and live under the shadow of slander, hiding our lives and bearing the false accusations, to maintain peace, or speak out for the truth. But this would let everyone know who she was and where she lived, subjecting her to gossip and whispers for the next decade. Even when taking out the trash, no matter which path we chose, we were the only ones who would get hurt. I tried to open the door, wanting to hold her, but it was locked from the inside. I called out, "Baby, could she let me in?" She cried uncontrollably. She told me she always thought she would marry me. She saved for a long time to buy herself a big diamond ring. Diamond ring. She saved 3 years' worth of bonuses to buy an Audi. As part of her dowry, she dreamed of sitting in our little car, wearing a wedding dress, and having me put a wedding ring on her finger. She had given so much, enduring years of hardship, just for the dream of a wedding. Now everyone was telling her she did nothing wrong, but she could not have her dream. I had tears in my eyes and said, we could get married if she wanted. I would have the wedding with her. I did not care about people's ridicule. I only wanted her in my life. She cried and told me that the wedding could never be happy now. Just like her parents said, once she appeared in bridal makeup, it would only invite ridicule. I said nothing more. I just remembered two people, the woman who stripped her. I did not know her address, but I remembered her name was Karen. In the neighborhood chat group, their usernames were their apartment numbers. The neighbor who posted the video lived in Building 4, Unit 901. I said nothing, just etched these people into my memory. I clenched my fists, suppressing my inner beast. Every woman in this world has a man who loves her deeply. Deeply for her. He would do anything. I needed to find that lying neighbor. I must make her understand that some things should not be said carelessly, since my in-laws did not dare to clear my wife's name. In the chat group, I would go find that person in person and make her tell everyone that she was mistaken and wrongfully accused an innocent person. While my wife was crying in the room, unwilling to see anyone, I went directly to Building 4, Unit 901. I knocked on the door of 901, but there was no response. I knocked a few more times, and then the door of 902 opened. It was an elderly couple who looked at me, puzzled, and asked what I was doing. I said I was looking for the resident of 901. The elderly couple looked at me in surprise and said, 901 had not been sold yet. I was stunned. If 901 had not been sold, how could there be an owner? Spreading rumors in the group chat, thinking there must be some mistake, I decided to go ask the group admin. The neighborhood chat group was not created by the property management, but by the residents themselves. To make it easier, to complain about the property management, I knew the admin's address. She lived in Unit 503 of this building. The homeowners committee meetings were always held at 503. Committee meetings were always held at 503. I knocked on the admin's door, and luckily, someone was home. A woman opened the door a crack and looked at me from behind it, asking what I wanted. I politely said hello. Are you the admin of the neighborhood chat group? I'd like to ask about someone who. I made up a reason and said, the resident of 901 in Building 4. She borrowed some money from me and then blocked me. I did not want to argue with neighbors in the group chat and make a scene, but when I went to 901 to find her, I found out the unit had not even been sold. The admin relaxed and fully opened the door. She explained that a woman had come to her with a rental contract, claiming to be the tenant of 901. Our neighborhood chat group allowed tenants to join, but soon after joining, the woman violated the group rules by posting advertisements and was kicked out by the admin. She showed me the ad on her phone. It was a renovation ad. The admin said, some people in the renovation business pretend to be residents to get clients. She probably found out from the Housing Bureau's website that 901 had not been sold and pretended to be a tenant to join the group. But who knew she would borrow money for people too? I nodded in understanding. Since the group was created by the residents, if it had been created by the property management, her lie would have been exposed immediately. Seeing the woman's phone number on the ad, I called it, but I was stunned by the message. The number you have dialed is not in service. How could it be an invalid number? Did the woman even fill out the phone number incorrectly? Incorrectly, while violating the group rules and posting the ad. Feeling even more puzzled, I asked her, so there was no way I could get my money back. Was there any way to find her? The admin suddenly pointed to her ceiling, where I noticed a security camera. She said when she was running the homeowners committee, the property management kept causing trouble, so they installed a camera. That woman must have been recorded, but she did not know how to use it. Her husband was away on a business trip. When he got back, she would ask him to retrieve the footage for me. Okay? I thanked the admin profusely and left with some regret, although I could not find the slanderer. For now, the most important thing was to comfort my wife. I had made up my mind. No matter what, I would have a wedding with her. She was the woman I loved the most, and I could not let her be with me with any regrets. The day of the wedding arrived. I put on my suit, tied my tie, and pinned a boutonniere to my lapel. I knew the wedding was canceled, but I wanted to tell my girl. I booked the plane tickets, planned to take her to the beach, and called a local church to find pastor. At sunrise, I would put the wedding ring on her finger. At sunset, we would make our vows. Even if our wedding was canceled, I wanted to tell her in front of the pastor. Then no matter what sickness, health, poverty, wealth, I would be with her for life. We were not Christians, but to give her a wedding, I would serve the Lord. However, a frantic phone call brought the dream crashing back to harsh reality. When I answered my mother-in-law's call and rushed to the hotel, I saw my wife standing on the rooftop, wearing her white wedding dress. My heart ached as if it were being torn apart. I could hardly breathe. I rushed into the elevator, the anxious heat making me loosen my tie. When I reached the rooftop, the door was locked. I kicked the door hard, breaking the lock. I gasped for breath, looking at her back in the sunlight. Her wedding dress was as white as snow. She stood on the edge of the roof in her high heels, looking so delicate and pitiful. I called out, "Baby." She turned around, her face tear-streaked and sorrowful, crying. She asked me if I died. Would those who hurt her feel guilty? I said, "Do not jump. Answer me, will you?" A sudden panic gripped me. The panic made me hotter and hotter. I loosened the buttons of my white shirt, gasping for breath. They would not feel guilty, but I would make them pay. I would make each one of them die with her. If she still loved me, if she did not want me to become a killer, she should not jump. I would take care of her for the rest of my life. I took out a cross and showed her the plane tickets. I told her that I was willing to spend every future day with her. She looked at the tickets and called me a fool. She wiped away her tears, forcing a smile. She said she was sorry, but she could not hold on anymore. Every day she lived, she just wanted to die. A gentle breeze blew, fluttering her hair. She spread her arms as if to embrace me, but her body fell backward, disappearing from my sight. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. My mind went blank, and my body trembled uncontrollably. When I ran downstairs, she was lying in a pool of blood, her wedding dress stained red. My mother-in-law fainted from crying on the spot. I knelt beside her. Trembling, I cupped her small face in my hands. I stupidly called her baby. She did not respond. No ves, no pulse. I took out my phone to call an ambulance. At that moment, an iMessage notification popped up from a group. "My husband is back. I will send you that woman's photo shortly." I ignored the iMessage and urgently called for help. The ambulance arrived, and the paramedics quickly attended to her. I knelt on the ground, watching her being lifted onto the stretcher. My phone vibrated suddenly. I picked it up blankly and saw the photo sent by the group admin looking at the woman in the photo. I clenched the cross tightly. That cruel face, that familiar face. It was her, Karen Thompson. I should have killed her. When I shoved her head into the toilet, the silver cross was already stained with blood. "Heavenly Father, I have no chance to serve you. Heavenly Father, I am about to commit a beastly act. Heavenly Father, am I guilty? The God of my heart tells me. Every woman in this world has a man who loves her deeply. Deeply for her. He would do anything, even if it is a sin." I did not know Karen's address, but I remembered her child's school uniform from the previous altercation. The uniform had the name Oakwood Road, Crestwood Elementary School on it. I got into the car, tears streaming down my face. I kept wiping them away, feeling like I could not breathe. I took deep breaths, trying to calm my breathing. I sent a message to the group admin saying I accidentally left the group and asked her to add me back. Then I started the car and drove towards Crestwood Elementary School. Suddenly, my phone rang. I was not in the mood to answer, but when I looked at the screen, I saw the contact name Bitch. That was the note I had given Karen. After our previous conflict, I answered the call. On the other end, I heard her trembling voice. She said, "Hello, hello." I quietly waited for her to continue. She spoke with a quivering voice. I saw photos circulating on social media about someone jumping off a building. It looked familiar. Was it my wife? I coldly replied. She was the one who pretended to be from 901 and spread rumors in the group. Was she not? She quickly said, "Wait, it was not what I thought." I asked them, "What was it?" Karen cried and explained that there had been a huge misunderstanding. when we were at the bridal shop. I had smashed someone's phone to stop them from filming. My wife, after Karen and I were taken to the police station, the child's aunt fixed the broken phone out of her pocket and provided a video as evidence to show that Karen was only holding my wife down and not hitting her. However, Karen was so angry about what I did that she secretly copied the video and found out where we lived, using it to torment us. Karen said she only wanted a vent. She never intended to push anyone to the point of jumping off a building. Why was my wife always so extreme? Why did she always choose the most extreme way to solve problems? My God, I interrupted her. Why was she calling now? She quietly said she finished work at 8. She wanted to know which hospital my wife was in, so she could come and talk to me after work. Mercy General Hospital. I hung up after saying that, but I did not stop driving. I continued towards Crestwood Elementary School. She wanted to talk, but I had no intention of talking. When I arrived at Crestwood Elementary School, I had not even gotten out of the car when I saw an ironic sight. I saw Karen rushing out of the school with her child, getting into a rideshare and speeding away. Seeing this filled me with cold anger. Lies, deception. She said she finished work at 8, but now she was hurriedly picking up her child early from school. All of this was her lies. She was probably trying to run away. If I foolishly believed her and waited at the hospital, she would be long gone by the time I realized it. I followed Karen in my car. Eventually, Karen got out at the Greyhound station. We both entered the station one after the other. She hurried to the ticket counter with her child, but the child was crying. Mom, I told you so many times I need to go to the bathroom. I cannot hold it anymore. Karen did not agree right away. She checked the departure times first, and after confirming she had time, she took the child to the restroom. She carried the child in a way that his head rested on her shoulder. This put the child facing me. He saw me and widened his eyes in shock. He pounded on Karen's shoulder, shouting excitedly, Mom, the bad man is here. The bad man is here. What bad man? Karen turned around in confusion, and I acted. I grabbed her face with one hand and dragged her towards the restroom. I coldly said, Seems like we always resolve things in the restroom. Did not get enough last time? The child fell from Karen's arms, crying in pain. Karen struggled, but was no match for me. I dragged her into the restroom. The child cried loudly for someone to help. A bad man was hurting his mom. Help! I saw the restroom was empty, so I closed the door and locked it. I threw her onto the floor. Her face was filled with fear as she crawled backward, saying desperately, It was my wife who was too extreme. She was really sick in the head. My God, jumping off a building over such a small matter. She would pay me. Was that enough? I stared coldly at Karen. At that moment, the restroom door was kicked hard, making a loud noise. A voice shouted from outside, Come out, man. Do not hit a woman. They had called the police. Come out now. I ignored the shouting outside. I did not care how long the door could hold, or if they had called the police. I did not come here to run. I came here to make Karen pay. Karen's face was full of terror as she kept crawling backward. But how big can a restroom be? She huddled in the corner, trembling as I approached. Step by step, she cried. She was wrong. She was really wrong. She begged me to forgive her. I coldly said she did not know she was wrong. Her tears and her current attitude were just a disguise, because she was afraid of punishment. She was crying to me now, not because she regretted her evil deeds, but because she hoped I would be a fool and let her go. She screamed at me through her tears. She was trying to help me. I was stunned. I asked what help. She said anxiously, Did I not see? My wife was the kind of person who had a mental illness. She seeks death over the smallest things. If I stayed with her, it would only harm me. And mental illness was hereditary. Her genes would pass on to my children, ruining my life. I gasped and said she was the one who was sick. She never thought she was wrong. She always blamed others for her mistakes. She clung to her victim-blaming theory, never considering the crimes she committed. At that moment, the restroom door suddenly banged loudly again. I turned to see the door being kicked open. Of course, it was not a security door. It could not hold for long. A burly man stood at the entrance, with a little boy hiding behind him. Karen's fear disappeared instantly when she saw the man. She shouted, Husband, you are here. The man coldly said. As soon as he got her call, he took leave and rushed here. Oh, so this was Karen's husband. Karen, with her husband present, was a different person. She laughed hysterically. She thought I was so tough. Her husband was a bodybuilder. She told me to keep being tough now. I said nothing. Seeing me silent, Karen became even more frantic. Was I too scared to speak now? I was a coward. I only dared to hit innocent women. She told me. She laughed so hard when she saw my wife jump off the building. She deserved it. She hit her child. It was karma. She hoped she died. She hoped the hospital threw her in the morgue. She told me to go ahead and let the judge sentence her. She asked a lawyer. Even if she died, at most it was just defamation. She would get less than 3 years. That was the fairness of the law. The law did not protect bitches like her. Before she could finish, I slapped her across the face. She spun half a circle and fell softly to the ground, her nose bleeding profusely. She covered her nose, screaming in pain. Husband, he hit me. Karen's husband finally could not take it anymore and lunged at me. I knew I could not beat him in a fight. He was too strong, but I did not come to fight. I loosened my tie, watching him come closer. Karen's husband grabbed my neck, trying to lift me, and I kicked him hard in the groin. He doubled over in pain, and I clenched my fist, punching him hard in the throat. He could barely breathe. Clutching his neck in agony, I grabbed his head, raised my knee, and smashed it into his nose with all my strength. The strong Karen's husband lost all his strength. Instantly, he vomited a mouthful of blood and collapsed to the ground, convulsing. He did not understand. I did not come to fight. I came to risk my life. The public restroom fell silent. Karen was petrified, and the little boy stared at me in shock. The security guard, who had initially intended to intervene, now stood frozen at the door. Suddenly, the little boy burst into tears. He ran towards me, hitting me with his small fists, cooing, "Bad man." He said I hit his mom. I hit his dad. Yes, it was a bad man. I crouched down. Looking the child in the eyes, I said seriously, "Remember my face. Remember what I did to his parents. And never forget it." I grabbed a little boy and threw him out of the restroom. He lay on the ground wailing. As I slowly closed the door, the security guard did not dare move. A $3,000 monthly salary was not worth risking his life. I had been worried that this door would not hold for long, but now the situation was different. There were handrails at the restroom entrance. I dragged Karen's husband to the handrail, and when she saw what I was doing, she lunged at me. What was I going to do to her husband? I kicked Karen aside and slipped her husband's arm through the handrail, wedging it in the first stall's gap. Then I took off my belt and tightly secured his upper body to the handrail. After finishing, I tested the door. Every time I opened it a little, it pressed down on Karen's husband's arm. If I continued, his arm would break completely. This was the best lock. With everything in place, I took out my phone and pointed it at Karen's face. I said confess all her wrongdoings honestly. Karen wiped her bloody nose, trembling as she looked at the camera in terror. She had completely lost her previous arrogance and obediently started speaking into the camera. She said she was shameless. She snuck into the homeowner group and smeared others. She did not control her child. It was all her fault. She confessed her sins to the camera. Then she asked me quietly if I could let them go now. I shook my head and said seriously, did she know the saying? A lie travels halfway around the world, while the truth is still putting on its shoes. Her apology may not reach everyone. The only way to ensure people saw her apology was to make it compelling and shareable. What did she mean? She meant her apology video needed to have something eye-catching. Hearing this, Karen instinctively clutched her clothes. She screamed hysterically not to even think about it. Ich glänzte her. She was overthinking it. I did not plan to strip her. I kicked open the stall door next to us and pulled out the waste bin, tossing it in front of Karen. She was stunned. I pointed the camera at her and said seriously, eat it. That would be more eye-catching than stripping. Karen stared at the waste bin, then leaned closer and began to retch. She cried, just kill her already. I frowned impatiently. Was I the only one who thought she was crazy, overreacting to small things, and always choosing the most extreme solutions? Why did she always handle minor issues in the most extreme way? I did not think I was being unreasonable. I was just repeating her words. But Karen was really extreme. She suddenly stood up, crying hysterically, and lowered her head, aiming to crash into the wall behind her. I grabbed her and yanked her back. I forced her head into the wastebasket. She struggled in pain as I coldly asked if she wanted to die. Sorry. Her life was not as important as my wife's reputation. Suddenly, sirens blared outside. I looked at the time and frowned. So fast, only a few minutes, but it did not matter. I never planned to run, nor did I plan to be taken to court alive. I was not afraid of jail, but I could not endure a day without her. Karen lay on the ground vomiting. The police soon kicked down the door. Suddenly, Karen's husband woke up in pain, letting out a heart-wrenching scream. The police outside saw the situation and hesitated to break down the door further. "Friend, do not do anything rash," the officer said helplessly from outside. "Whatever my troubles, I could talk to the police. Do not do anything foolish." Karen wiped the yellow vomit from her mouth and cried out, "Police, shoot him." I ignored them and checked my iMessage. The group admin had already added me back to the group. I immediately posted Karen's video in the group and followed it with 3 large cash gifts. Soon, my phone started vibrating wildly. I knew the group was in an uproar. Karen continued to cry. "Shoot him already. He was right behind the door. Could not the bullets go through it?" The officer outside became anxious. "Do not provoke him. And what if they hit her, friend? Whatever grudges I had, we could sit down and talk." I said softly, "Do not worry, she would not die. For now, brother, what exactly did I want? I was waiting for a call from the hospital. I was waiting for a miracle. I held my phone, murmuring, if my wife did not make it, I would cut out her heart and see if it was black." The officer outside was taken aback and quickly said, "My wife was in the hospital. They would help me contact the hospital. What was her name? Which hospital was she in? Was it the person who jumped off the building today?" "Yes, that was her. I felt she had no pulse. I was waiting for a miracle." He told me not to worry too much. No pulse did not mean there was no hope. They would contact the hospital right away for me. I should just stay calm, and we could talk about any issues. "Look, this man here was seriously injured. Let them take him to the hospital first. The sooner he got to the hospital, the more lenient my situation would be." I still had time. Do not make a big mistake. I sighed and stopped responding to the voices outside. They did not understand. If anything happened to my wife, there would be no discussion. No matter the outcome, it would not matter to me. Suddenly, I remembered the day I proposed to her. Although, she said she had scrimped and saved for a long time to buy herself a big diamond ring. Diamond ring. I knew she was lying. My wife was a little miser. On holidays, she did not want gifts, just cash. First cup of milk tea in autumn, $52. Valentine's Day transfer, $520. New Year's cash gift, $1,314. All those numbers with romantic meanings. But I never saw her make any big purchases. Until one time, she was taking a bath. And I looked at her phone. I did not intend to check her chat history. I just wanted to use her phone for a verification code, to log into a membership, to watch a movie. I saw her screen was on a memo titled Eternal Savings. It recorded every transfer I made, and I saw her target amount, $22,000. The tag had the price exactly $20,000. I knew with the atmosphere set, and everyone watching me excitedly, I had to propose. I got down on one knee and asked her if she would marry me. Through sickness and health for life, we would be together forever. I wondered if she had used eye drops beforehand, because her tears flowed like a film star in front of her friends. Well, after saving up so hard for the $20,000 and spending it all, she probably could not help but cry. She jumped into my arms, tilted her head, and with a smile told me, even if she died, she would haunt me every day. I was so silly then. I just held her and smiled like a fool. I forgot to make her spit 3 times to ward off bad luck. Times to ward off bad luck. I overestimated my own strength. I also underestimated the police. I thought they would not be able to easily open the door, but they just opened a bit and suddenly threw in a smoke grenade in a small restroom. Thick smoke quickly filled the space, making it impossible to see and causing me to cough painfully with a loud crash. The police broke through the wall next to the door. A second wave of officers used large bowl cutters to snap the handrail at the bottom. then pushed the door open, shouting, "Hurry." I was pinned to the ground by the police. No matter how unwilling I was, I appeared weak in the face of the state machinery. We were all dragged out by the police, and Karen cried beside them, accusing me of my crimes. I looked at her and could not help but laugh. I laughed hysterically. The police came too early. She was not dead yet, so I could not get a heavy sentence. I would keep an eye on her when I got out. I would take her whole family. I would make sure she woke up from nightmares every day, fearing my early release. As long as I was alive, she would never dare to sleep. Karen looked at me in terror, clutching the officer's arm and crying. Did he see I was crazy? Shoot him. Her terrified expression was like a stimulant for me. I could not stop laughing maniacally. I was handcuffed and pushed into the police car. Even when I was handcuffed and questioned at the police station, I could not stop laughing. The officer taking my statement asked why I was laughing and told me to cooperate. I said I would not cooperate. I would get out and kill their whole family. Even if I died here, even if I jumped from here, I would not cooperate. A police officer nearby and walked up to me with a phone. The phone had a video call on it. I was stunned. I saw my wife lying in a hospital bed, weakly opening her eyes. They told me my wife had been saved. Cooperate. Get out early and be with my wife. I was stunned, looking at the video. I finally could not hold back my tears and cried like a child. I said okay, I would cooperate. Karen was lightly injured, and Karen's husband had minor injuries. By rights, I should be sentenced to less than 3 years. But to my surprise, Karen's family provided a letter of forgiveness. I cannot accept this. I cannot possibly pay compensation to her family until the lawyer sat with me and told me that my family had not paid. Karen's family. I asked the lawyer what was going on. He said here was the situation. For what he had gathered, Karen was terrified of me, coming out and seeking revenge. She originally planned to sell her house and move, but the property prices in her neighborhood had dropped significantly. If she wanted to sell quickly, she would lose $600,000. I said in astonishment, how could she be so selfish? Did she consider my feelings? It was hard for me to find her. He told me not to interrupt. The point was she did not want to lose that much money, so she wanted to make peace with me. Why should I? She was not asking for medical expenses, and her video had spread widely. Almost everyone locally knew about it. Whenever she went out, people would say, "Look, it was the one who ate shit." I could not help but laugh. I liked what people called her. The lawyer said seriously. Her reputation was ruined, and both she and her husband were injured by me. My wife's injuries were indeed more severe, but now everyone knew she was wronged. Karen's family wanted to put this behind them and end the cycle of revenge. I fell into deep thought. The lawyer, seeing me considering, said sincerely, "Do it, for the sake of getting out early to be with my wife." A suspended sentence was the best outcome. If I push her too hard, she might lose the $600,000 I would win and send me to prison. I asked, how much did she buy that school district house for? Reportedly, she bought it for $3 million. I got it. I accepted their terms. I was given a suspended sentence. My old company did not want me anymore. But as the saying goes, a tree dies standing. But a man can always find a new way. I figured losing my job did not mean I could not make money. Job did not mean I could not make money. A government official asked me about my plans, and I cautiously asked if I could open a deli. They said, of course, no problem. They were very supportive of people with suspended sentences working. So I discussed it with my wife, and we rented a shop across from Crestwood Elementary School to open a deli. My friends often came to support me. Whenever school let out, friends would come by to chat and then order a duck neck. It was quite a coincidence that, whenever they bought a duck neck, Karen's son would always come out of the school gate. I would immediately take the order, grab the duck neck, and go to the cutting board, saying, "Buy a duck neck." Some friends would say they did not want to eat duck neck. I said no, that it did. Then I would raise the cleaver, glaring at the boy, and chop down hard on the duck neck with a loud thud. Karen's son would always turn pale and run away. Over time, Karen could not take it anymore and called the police. She cried to the officers. He promised not to mess with her family anymore, but he scares her child every day. Her child was too scared to go to school. She spent $3 million on that school district house. They had emptied their savings. I said in shock, How was I scaring her child? My goodness. Was I the only one who thought she was overreacting? I was just chopping deli meat. Officer, look at my orders. I showed him the orders, clearly proving I was selling duck necks. At that time, Karen, desperate, said I had so much deli meat. Why was it every time her son came out, I was chopping duck necks? And why did I insist on chopping the duck neck? For every customer? Yes, my duck neck sold well. Chopping the duck necks made them easier to eat. Did I not sell anything else? We also sold beef ribs, but those needed more chopping. Then why did I always stare at her son while chopping? I was good with my knife. I could chop accurately without looking. Did it matter where I looked? I just looked at the school gate, thinking it would be a good school for my future kids. Karen turned red with anger and could not say another word. My wife tried to persuade the police. My husband was really just selling duck necks. She was overthinking it. I felt it was absurd. What was the big deal about me selling duck necks? Later, for some unknown reason, Karen's son refused to go to school. I felt sorry for him and even had 3 bowls of rice out of pity. In the end, Karen had to sell the house and move with her child. It was said that she lost not just $600,000, but a total of $800,000, counting the bank loans. She lost all her money, but my deli was doing well. Many people would come before drinking to buy deli meat as a snack or call me for delivery. They said they respected me as a tough guy. Men should support other men and make friends. Apparently, my story had spread around, and many guys became my supporters. At night, I closed the shop, and my wife clung to my arm, snuggling up to me as we walked down the street. Our new home was not far, and we always walked home. I said softly, "Honey, let's close the shop for a month." She was stunned. Why did she not want a wedding? I wanted to travel with her, get married, and go on a honeymoon. She said in surprise. Was I crazy? We made over $2,000 a day. But the wedding? I would say it again, over $2,000 a day. Our regulars were friends now. We could hire employees. If I hired employees, they would think I had struck it rich and would not want to support me anymore. People were more afraid of their friends driving a Range Rover than not being able to drive one themselves. I hugged her tightly and said, feeling wronged, "Okay." Suddenly, she turned and hugged me, saying softly, she did not want a wedding anymore. She wanted something else now. I asked curiously, what? She stood on tiptoe and suddenly kissed my lips, smiling. Guess what she wanted the most? Was already right in front of her. After saying that, she turned and skipped down the sidewalk. In the moonlight, I watched her back, thinking hard, but still could not figure out what she wanted. The thing she wanted the most, right in front of her. I understood it must be the $2,000 a day.